The death of Junior Socrates. Yeah, it's a topic of discussion all over social media, and all kind of accolades going out for Junior Socrates. Socrates, the real Socrates, lived in the 5th century BC. There's no exact date to his birth, but like most philosophers in those days, nobody seemed to can pinpoint the birth of most of them. Socrates was one of them. But we know that he died in 399 BC. Socrates was a philosopher who said that he knows nothing. That was his concept of learning. Socrates was a philosopher. And one of the most famous things that he said was, I know that I know nothing. Socrates never founded any school of thought. He never wrote any ancient document that we all can go back to and say, this is what he wrote and this is what people who came after him learned. He was just a thinker, a man who had thoughts and look around him and his surroundings and develop these thoughts. And he shared those thoughts with whoever would listen at the time, and it made sense to many. And the rest is ancient history with his name written in stone, because he accepted that he knew nothing and opened his mind to learn anything and everything. And look what it got him. The Socrates of 2025 was quite a polar opposite to the real Socrates. And the fact that he chose to call himself that and never even attempted to live up to it suggests that he never read anything about the real Socrates. Hello everyone, Karen Cecilia here. Thank you all for joining me. Please give the video a like. I am going to say things that some people are going to agree with, and some people might even find to be, a little cross or unchristian-like, if you're like that, to think that I'm going to say some things. But I am a fervent believer, that when someone dies, you should remember them with the truth. You should not be all over the place talking about what a great and wonderful person that person was, when in fact that person was a terrible person. And I'm not saying that Junior Socrates was a terrible, terrible person. I'm just saying in general that we should speak the truth about people when they die. I was never a lover of funeral. So I was never a funeral goer. I mean, right up into my 30s, 40s, I was never a funeral goer. And then some senior citizens of the community started to die, Miss Imo and Mr. Jack and Jano and Miss, all of them just started to die. And these are people that were the original part of the gang, led by my mother. So I had an obligation, when families come to me, to go and talk about these people and give the community insights about these people's contribution to the community, which is what I normally do at those funerals. Give insights about each individual, truthful insights about them, who they were, what they did, what contribution they made to make Jerusalem Phase 1 what it is. That was I do. I'm a fervent believer also that when someone dies, there is a layaway station between heaven and hell. There's no immediate transport to heaven and no immediate transport to hell. There's a layaway station managed by St. Peter. I believe that with all my heart, and I don't want nobody to give me a jazz about it. I do believe that. Well, you can't always give me jazz about it, but it is my belief. I believe that St. Peter would make a decision about someone's soul on hearing what everybody else on earth has to say about that person. Not only what records St. Peter has and what records there are the angels made of this person's life on earth. St. Peter wanted to hear what people on earth saying after he dies. So that person have to stay in the layaway station until his funeral, until night, until set up, to hear what everybody has to say. And in this modern world, I'm imagining also that St. Peter need to see what social media is saying. And if all the things that social media is saying actually add up to this person's life. And it is after that, then St. Peter would make a decision as to whether this person will go in on the train that is going up or the train that is going down. And so, what I'm about to say is going to be a hard truth that some people might not like. But when I die, if I die, all of we going there, don't it? Well, speak for yourself. About all of we going there, speak for yourself. But I would imagine that when I reach that stage of my next life, that if some people are going to go to a funeral and say something about me or say something about me on social media, I want it to be the truth. I want it to be the truth as you experienced it. The person that you really know. And you must make that truth based on what you saw, based on what you heard, based on conversation, based on connections, between you and me. And you make that decision as to what you think, the kind of person you think I was. You can't make up story and go talk about Karen was an angel, because I was not. You can't go make up a story and Karen was a blessed soul. I like to think that to myself, but I don't know if I am. You can't go and say things that don't line up with the life that I lived. You have to say the things that lined up with the life that I lived. So when we try to remember somebody, I know we all want to be all lovey-dovey and sweet and believe that Jesus requires us to say nice things about this particular person. The truth of the matter is, Jesus requires us to say the truth about this person. So we should stick to that. All right? I have never liked Junior Socrates. Never, ever. Never, never, not even a little bit. I have never liked this fellow. And my instinct, an immediate dislike of someone has served me well over my lifetime. Immediate dislike or immediate assumption about somebody and meeting them and looking at them and looking in their eyes, watch their body language, hear the things that they say. But my dislike of him was not exactly immediate, because you see what you see from a distance, and then when you finally have a personal inner space thing with that person, you can either confirm some things that you picked up from instinct, or you can say, oh, I was wrong. But I was never wrong about him from my first instinct and my immediate dislike of him. And it's not personal. It's just a sense of who you are and what you are. And it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to sense that immediately in someone as to whether that person is a decent and good person or that person is not a decent and good person. And we all can use our own measuring stick to decide who is a good person, who is not. But no matter what measuring stick we use, who is a good person, who is not, is still based on the life that the person lived, the things that the person did, the things that the person said, the impression that the person leave on the earth after he leaves or she leaves. And it's a gift to sense that. I also believe that our death is written the day that we were born. So we have no control over that date. It's a set date, whether we like it or not. There's no control over it. The day we were born, that death date was also written, and this is not manifest. So nobody think it's something like that. But as the late Queen, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II once said, we are all visitors to this time, this place. And we are here to live, to learn, observe, contribute our talents, and leave the space much better than when we found it. And we must understand that even if we live to be 140, life is still very short. The Greek have a saying, when a man dies, they ask, did he have passion? Thousands of years ago, that passion was spoken as as something sensual. It was understood to be that when it was first spoken, according to the Greek historian that I asked this question. What did they mean when they ask the question, did he have passion? It's the only question they asked at funerals, the Greeks, back in the day. And then somebody would get up and talk about the man's passion about something. It evolved into a wider understanding of passion. Did he have passion for life, for food, for people, for trees and breeze? Did he have passion for children, for love, for laughter? Did he have passion in every sense of the word passion? And we're not leaving out the sensual. Did he have passion? The modern day 2025 Socrates was a complicated, unhappy, and sad man. It doesn't take any kind of genius to look at him on any given day and know that he is unhappy and he was sad. Very, very sad and unhappy man. And whenever he speaks, it's not just what coming out of his mouth, but it is his eyes, his face, his facial, the muscles of his face, what he's saying, and all of that. It is also my opinion that he was also a man who lacked basic principles. And that is just an opinion. And that opinion was formed based on some of the things that I'm about to say. His life never went as he thought. Never went, because when you're at one place that's supposed to take you further up, and then it suddenly not only brought you back to where you were, but it continued to slide further down, it does have an effect on you. And I'm going to say some things without going into any details about it. And it's not that I want to keep his memory sacred or anything. I'm not going into details about it because for my own self-preservation, I don't want to talk about those things, because those things are people's character, and I'm never going to run for the office. I never want to lead us, and they want to be in the parliament. There's no need for me to go as deep as I could, but I'm not going to do that. He never found, after his life never went as he thought it should, he never found the courage to make any changes to that. So it kept going down. But I want to remind the entire social media echo chamber about Socrates' greatest contribution to what we do now. But even in that, he failed spectacularly to rise to the occasion, so to speak. It was Socrates who facilitated the beginning of the resistance. It was him who gave the resistance the ammunition that it needed and wasn't looking for at all. Wasn't looking for it, just came. He did that through the leak of the WhatsApp conversations between the top risers in the Rise camp. We know how he got it, but that's not important. But he had it. He started releasing those WhatsApp conversations when the risers them was attacking him on social media. So it wasn't even a noble effort on his part to say, I am going to release these so that Jamaican public can have an idea of what these guys did. He released them to defend himself. It was a personal thing, because he was indeed a selfish and self-centered individual. And when they started to attack him, he started to put them out little by little. I disagree with those who believe that he should have released those WhatsApp before the election between Mark and Lisa. I don't believe it would have had an impact on that election, because the PMP delegates were already bought on the idea that they're going to sell them vote to this white man for our money, and nobody would have had the time to look at it and to study it and to understand it, and it would not have had an impact on them deciding that I'm going to sell them votes to Mark Golding. But he never even made an attempt at it. He had it and never even made an attempt on it. So that speaks volumes about who he was. But he started to release it to defend himself. I don't believe that when he got those WhatsApp messages, I don't believe he understood what is it that he got. I don't believe that he understood what he had and its potential to cause the damage that it has caused. I don't believe he did understood it. The WhatsApp leak that shows Mark Golding as the clear leader and director of what was to follow after Peter Bunting lost to Peter Phillips in 2019. That WhatsApp leak. Socrates had a deep regret about that when he saw what the early resistance people did. The early leaders in the resistance, what they took that WhatsApp leak and took it to the stratosphere and educated the Jamaican people, particularly the PNP people, about what was taking place in their party with the man that they just elected as leader of the party. And Socrates had a deep regret about it and harbored some level of hatred towards the resistance because of how we have used what he found to not only bring down Mark Golding, but how effectively we have burned down the tent to the ground. And he has had regrets about it since. He was living in deep regrets about that. And basically, he hates us all. He hated us all, trust me. He never understood that having that kind of ammunition, and if he loved the PNP and loved Jamaica, as he sometimes tried to make us believe, what impact he could have made with that. So after the resistance leaders at the time took it and run with it, he never got over it. It was easy for him. It was easy for whoever convinced him to come join them. And he said in the early days that he was really joining Mark, and he not with Mark, he not like Mark, and he never not do it for him party. He want to go support some candidates that him call him cousin, people like Dawes and them. It was very easy for them to convince him to join them because he had nothing out here. He had nothing. He had very little, if any, influence on how people vote and how people think and which direction people should go. So there was nothing out here for him. So when he got the opportunity to go get one $10,000, one $15,000 for go sell up beside one candidate and go at them thing and all of that and get gas to one car for go all of that, him grab it. He took it and not beating up for it. Life hard. That was his thing, and him, they never really accepted him because of all that he had said before. He was the one who put out that thing that Mark is unsaleable. Nobody can sell Mark. And that was one of the most effective arguments made about Mark Golding by him, Socrates. That nobody can sell Mark and nobody now buy him. And without even saying it, what Socrates was saying is that Mark, nobody don't want to buy Mark because Mark just now cut it. Nobody not buying, but buying what he's selling. And he made that argument effectively. And most people got that. They never really accepted him because of all of that. And of course, the WhatsApp leak. They know. The Rise leaders, they know. At least Bunting knows that Socrates had no idea what he found and no idea what to do with it. So they knew. So even when he was putting it out, when them attacking him, it never had any effect. It was when it was Natalie Stack and Michelle Stern and Vineta Moy Wilson, Paulette Allen and Anika Bartley and Richard McFarlane and a few others who understood what that was. And tried as they did, they were unsuccessful in getting him to understand what it is that he had uncovered. Why? Because he had no principle, and he had no convictions, and he never understood what it is that he had uncovered in that WhatsApp leak, because he never thought about it as something that was a betrayal to the PMP. Those are words that he started using after Natalie and Michelle them start and Vinette them start using it. And it pisses him off something awful. He just couldn't get over the fact that he never knows him could have used this thing to live himself, because it was always about him. He was a selfish, self-centered man, which is why he got himself in so much deep crap, because him think that him is a loner and he must do everything by himself and all of that. Later on, when I joined the resistance, after I had the chance of going through it, I remember how my heart sank to the ground when I read Mark Golding's instructions to Side Chick Nick to set up WhatsApp group that would be the brain of their operation to destroy Peter Phillips, destroy the PMP, take control of the party, and then proceed to go to take power in Jamaica, to do the same thing over again in Jamaica on behalf of the white man. In that WhatsApp leak, how Dayton Campbell sat in that group planning war against Dr. Phillips if all of the Rise MPs them did not get high-profile spokespersons position. He never understood that. I mean, come on. You look at Mark Golding saying what he said and Dayton Campbell saying what he said, and you never understood that because you have no convictions. Because it never mattered to you. You just wanted to put it out to show what they were saying about each other and to each other. And that is what he did. He never understood it. You know? And after it took off, he lost his senses. Hated us. Many people don't even know what kind of grudge that he was carrying for the resistance by how far we have all taken it, all of us together, taken it and let it be it is basically the foundation of our takedown of the Rise United group. It is basically the foundation of our argument to the Jamaican voters for them not to elect Mark Golding and his people to lead this country. But they also didn't fully accept him because of his support for Dr. Phillips over the years. Because they didn't trust him. So they didn't accept him. They didn't trust him. They have give him the side eye all the time. And he was indeed not a trustworthy fellow. Because people would trust you even if you switch side a little bit, if they have an idea that you are a fair and decent person. But nobody have him, Socrates, as a fair and decent person, because he was not a fair and decent person. He was a scoundrel. He was. And some of you might not like that, and some of you probably never see that, because you and him hang out, and you and him a friend, and and him speaky spooky with him accident, and him, but all of that didn't make him into some kind of hero. He was not an hero. He was not. He was a traitor, just like Mark Golding and Peter Bunty and Dayton Campbell. He was also a traitor. He found something that basically set up to destroy the People's National Party, and he used it for his personal reason, not to do anything. And when the resistance took it to another level, oh man, him don't want to be a part of that. In fact, in a broad sense, I could say nobody trusted him in any way, shape, or form. And most of that is due to his own character and the proclivities of that character that accompanied him. He was not. Socrates always have that insufferable look on his face, like him constipated or something. He was sad and he was unhappy. He was a loner who glorified being alone, and he wore his unhappiness on his face every day. You have never seen him putting out a video and looking pleasant. Even though it's a serious matter that him putting out, him always look unpleasant and unhappy and vex about something. I don't believe I've ever seen that man with a genuine laugh. Really. Happiness is a gift. It's a gift. And the trick about that gift is not to expect it. I think that, who said that? It's not Mark Twain. I think it's Charles Dickens who said that. That happiness is a gift. And the trick is not to expect it, but to delight in it when it comes. I am confident that it's not Mark Twain. I think it's Dickens. But Socrates was never happy. Never happy. And I'm inclined to believe that he has never been happy. And you have people like that who has never found happiness in the simplest of things because they are bogged down their minds with the great things that they want to find happiness in. So they couldn't find happiness in going by the seaside and just sit down and look at the sea. Or couldn't find happiness with just drinking a red stripe beer and enjoying a cool breeze. Or find happiness with some children around you laughing and making jokes and fun at each other. Or find happiness. He just couldn't find the happiness in the small things. He's one of those persons. And I'm not wrong in my analysis of him. Believe me, I have spent not much time, but little time with him. I remember I was in an office with him one day. I was there seeing somebody and he came in there to see the same person. And sat down and we were having a conversation. And he was not the kind of guy who could say, you are right about something. He always think that whatever it is that you are saying that is right is really him should be saying that. So I'm not going to give you the credit for it. That was the kind of person that he was. But I knew he wanted to join the Rise camp. I knew. And I knew from just simple little things. And I didn't know it at the time, but something came back to me in the course of thinking about his death and what his legacy and his impact out here has been, if any. And in thinking about it, something came back to me. The night at PMP HQ celebrating Paul Robertson's legacy. And I was there bringing it live on my Facebook page. And I remember how he stood by himself and leaned up against a vehicle. I think he was leaned up against Heather Robinson's vehicle, or the vehicle beside Heather Robinson's vehicle. And I know that because I went over there because, Heather bring the liquor, Heather bring the fish, and Heather bring the food, and we all go there to get something. So that's how I saw him. And I went over to him. And I asked him, what go on and how things. And he said some two little things about him here, just looking along, and I'm not involved. And it suddenly dawned on me. Just thinking about his death, and that night that came back to me in a very, I don't know, small way, just came back to me in trying to remember all my interactions with him and how I found him to be with those interactions, because that is how I think about people in times like these. You have to go back and think about interactions with them. And I realized that night, from that night interaction, that what he wanted was to join them. And he was kind of upset that them not asking him and running him down about him joining them. He was kind of, self-possessed and wondering why nobody call him to come join them. And him looking, and I saw him. I remember, I can see his face very clearly lean up against that black or blue vehicle, just looking over at Mark, talking to some people because the thing never started yet. Bunting stand up, leading up to the walk up, going up to the office. And we just walk past him to go sign the book, making notes and can't chat to because we're at PMP headquarters and Norman Manley Place. And he was just there with a longing on his face, a longing to be a part of that, because that is where, a little bit of status is, and that is where some money is, and whatever it is that he was looking for. So it dawned on me that he has always wanted to go over there. And sometimes, in some of the conversations that he has had with some people, and he and I have not had many conversations, because he lied about something. He and I had a conversation about something, and he went on and lied about it. And if the person who he lied to about it didn't know me as well as they do, they would have believed that I'm a liar. But instead of him getting what he wanted from the person, he went and lied about. Him got cut off from that person because I never need to do it. He was condescending and self-possessed. Self, me, I. Thinking himself above the rest of all the social media clan, particularly resistance. He did think himself above us all, which is why he never attempted to be a part of the resistance. He was genuinely surprised about our impact. Genuinely surprised about our impact. And every now and again, he would go back in his thought process and realize that is what he uncovered that caused us to make this impact. I was not a part of it at the time when he uncovered it. But he was genuinely surprised about our impact. And he thinks that he's the one who should have it. All of that, whatever it is out there in blogosphere that people think about the resistance and our impact. And he genuinely thought that, him is the one who should have it. It shouldn't be we. And he hate us for it. So using his acquired accent to stand and him have this attitude, stand on his soapbox and talk down to people and behave like, he's the scientist and we are the monkeys. He did. He have that self thing, and the hatred of what we do and how we have captured it and used it effectively to educate the Jamaican voters. It is written on his face, and you can't miss it. You can tell everything about a man by his face. You can't miss it. Yes, he was not well. He had a massive stroke some years ago. He was off social media for quite a while that stroke hit him down. He was rendered speechless in that massive stroke that he had. Never really told anyone. Not many people know, but many people know now. I don't know. But he did have a massive stroke some time ago that left him his speech impaired and one of his hands. I do believe. I didn't know about it. I only know about it in the early onset of it because he was talking to people abroad because, I look something, so I have to talk to the people in the America and other places across the world. We can send him something. So those people him reach out to. Never reach out to no local people here. Never reach out to us about nothing. It's them him tell and them help him financially. And that is how I found out about it in conversation with one such person who said that him don't tell nobody and him nobody. So I never said anything. And there's no need for me to say anything. It's not my business. And if him don't want to tell people that him had a stroke, and I'm one of those who believe that when you're sick, tell people, man, so we can pray. You don't believe in prayer. If you don't want to tell people, me here believe in prayer. But it's your own selfish, foolish, kumo ways that would make you sick. And don't want to make a few people know that, you're not well and you're asking for some prayer. You never have to tell what you don't have to say what it is you're not well about. And some people like to be silent and quiet about being sick. I'm not coming on a live this Tuesday because the truth of the matter is I'm not feeling up to scratch. But it's the flu. It is the flu, this flu thing that is really haunting me and causing me great discomfort. But you don't have to go up on social media and tell everybody, say, I have the flu, so I'm going to pray for me. I have the flu, so I'm going to call the people them who need to know that I have the flu and let them know that them should send on the coconut water and the orange juice and whatever else that I need. And them send it on. That's how that always go. You don't have to tell everybody that. But him always behaving like, him is a scientist and we are the monkeys. And nothing we say is important. It's only what he says is important. He never listened to anyone. He's not a listener. He would participate in a conversation, but he's not listening to you. I'm not listening to you. he would listen to a point where it pleases him or is particular things that him want to hear. You know, him not lead nothing unless him not be a part of any group unless him a lead it. And the worst part about it is that him can't lead anything. So even if the resistance had said to him, come lead it, he wouldn't know what to do. Because he has no convictions and no principles. So he wouldn't know what to do. But he never listened. And he very rarely agree with somebody, even in conversation. I'm telling you, from that one day in that office, nearly an hour, if not more, of conversations, and more people joined, more people came into that office and joined us and downtown. And just by conversation, I can tell you, he never listened. And he very rarely agree with anything anyone says because it's not coming from him. He was a strange, dysfunctional, unhappy, and sad person. I have seen him in conversations where he knows that somebody said something right, but he can't agree because it's not him who is saying it. He would rather listen to the person say something right and then say something else that would sound like a repetition of what the person says, but giving it to himself. And then the person would say, yeah, I agree, but him not using those words. You know, he has done some slimy things in his life. We all have done some slimy things in our lives. I did some terrible things when I was younger. But some people can't admit and can't reconcile that there was a time in your life that you weren't all that a great person. But you had an opportunity to change some things. And you had an opportunity to pray and to find comfort in the fact that you can speak openly about some things that, you know, that used to be a burden to you when you were younger. Thank God for old age. But you learn some things as you get older and you know, so now that not going to work, you need to stop that and cut that out. You know, so him is not like that, you know, him zero. The turnaround for him from being a single opposing factor to the Rise United, because it was just him alone, never have the body to back him up, to cheerleader. Sometimes he would like us to believe that him don't like Mark and him not cheerleading for Mark, him go cheerleading for some candidates, and I can relate to that. Him want him cousin them to win, just like how I want Rosha to win. You know, I really don't care about give a shit about anybody else want to win. I don't care about all of them damn lose. But him have that. But that was not only his own gambit. That was not his only gambit. That was what he was telling some people. But his actions inside there and other places says otherwise. Because he couldn't be honest about it. If I'm going to talk about the man and him dead, you have to be honest about it. You have to be honest about what you're talking about him. Great guy, soldier, warrior for what? He was a warrior for anything. He was a warrior for himself. He was a soldier for himself. He got that WhatsApp leak and he started to put it out in defense of himself. Not anything bigger than him. It was not. And then I would say, all right, maybe he never understood it, which I have said. Maybe he never understood it. But him still was putting it out in defense of himself against him former Rise colleagues like Dr. Fluximango. You know, so that was God that him become a main cheerleader for them. And I can tell you, people who switch from one side to the next, it's not sometimes not a bad thing if you understand what it is you're moving from and moving towards. And if you can't reconcile that with yourself to say, listen, I'm leaving this because this not serving the country well and this not serving the opposition of the party well, so I'm leaving it and I'm going to join this that serves the People's National Party as the other major party in this country, that it serves them well and that it serves Jamaica well. So I'm leaving that to go join this. That was not his reason. That was not his reason. It is said that people change people. There's a word for it. I'm trying to find a word. But when you move from one side to the other, you become the loudest cheerleader. You know, converts. They say that converts are the loudest cheerleaders. And he was a convert and he was one of those loud cheerleaders. along with some other people, some of whom he actually convinced to go join the Rise camp to become risers. They are the loudest cheerleaders that even the original Rise people don't even pay them the mind. Them post something and a soul now back them up, because converts are the loudest cheerleaders. Just like him, he went over there, but them never give him the respect that he wanted, and he become a loud cheerleader. And I'm wondering how them going to remember him now, because if them come out here, so we don't will fancy something to proclaim him to be any kind of virtue of political understanding, we'll be here ready for them, because he was not. He was more honest in his arguments when he was opposing, because that argument was centered on something else, but not on something else that him believe in either. But it was more honest. But it wasn't that it's something that him believe in, because all of it was just about winning. But at least him believe in that he wanted to win, and you couldn't sell mark for mark to win. So at least he was that. He was never a resistance to Mark. As I said, he was a one-man band. And because he was the one that exposed the WhatsApp leak, he believed he's the one who should have been getting all the credit about it. So never like us over here, so. Him and the one and two people in the resistance that had relationships, and them out there a ball and create all kind of excitement. They saw a different person, or they saw what they want to see. They create a narrative and a picture of somebody else who them see, but that's not who he was. And I'm not saying that I am 100% correct about who he was, but I am right about who he was. And that don't need no looking glass. That don't need no kind of big mirror to look to see that he was what he was. And he vexed with us and hate us. But he could not lead the resistance, and that's the honest truth. He could not lead the resistance, and that haunted him right up to his death. And many of you who glorify him never even know that, because he disguised that quite well. But it never occurred to any of you who glorify him. How come him, he just dead, and him never even dead 1 and 2 times. I put out some little things, and we and him be that una and them, not me and him. Una and him be that corroborate and some things, and sometimes when they make some memes, he was putting out memes too. It was always a selfish act on his part, and never an organized and orchestrated thing between you and him. It was never that. Never that. It was always about him. He did not believe in, he could not lead the resistance, because he's not a man that believed in shared responsibility. He had no convictions. He did not believe in sharing credit for anything. He did not believe in, hugging up and bigging up somebody else. It always had to be him. So he never give any owner that out there going on with all of that any kind of big up. None of them ever get any kind of big up about him. So even when you look at his social media page, when you look at his Facebook page, he has 22,000 followers. 22,000 followers he has on his Facebook page. And how many people is he following of that 22,000? Go and check it out. Not one. At the time when I looked at his social media page, it was years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, when somebody said, Socrates just put out one thing and I did with laugh, go check it out. And I don't like go up on people's social media pages. Not something I do. You look at his social media page and it must have been the Holy Spirit. At the time, I think it was 19,000 something people was following him. And he was not following a single soul. Not one. Not even one of you was he following. Not one. And every time that he posts something, he has never reposted something from any of you. Unless it has something to do with him. Unless him naming it and it has something to do with him. Then he probably will repost it because it big him up. Narcissistic. But it big him up. So him never post nothing from nobody page. Him don't share nothing from nobody page. Him now follow one of thousands of friends. I never thought to himself that him can share. So you want to tell me that all of you didn't say anything that he found to be interesting, that him couldn't share one thing that you said? Or name you in something that him said? Him never do that. Because that would take the spotlight off of him. He couldn't lead a resistance. He would not have had a clue what to do because he was selfish and self-centered. So he went to his death carrying some kind of grievance for us. And believe me when I'm telling you that, I have sat in places where I know that he is. So the people on social media bigging him up in death because of your own beliefs is that if that is what you want to do, you can do that. Nobody should stop you to do that. If your own belief is that you should say nice things about the dead, then that's your belief. That's not mine. I believe you should say the truth about the dead. Because if you don't say the truth about the dead, then, they don't understand that then you don't understand that you have to say the truth about a man's life in order for St. Peter to make a decision as to whether he's on the train going up or the train going down. But if that is your belief, that you should not say what you have experienced with him or what you know to be true about him. If your experience is you and him hanging out and him taking a picture and him there somewhere and on political arena, then fine. But if you don't know him as deeply as you should, and based on some of the things that you're putting out, then you're making up stuff to make him look good. And if you don't say the truth about him, then that train is it might not be on the right train. St. Peter is that way to have all the information that him required to send him on the proper train, the proper train. So Junior Socrates wasn't a great guy. Him was a mediocre guy, unkind and sad and unhappy, and think that everybody owe him something that they've never given him, and betrayed whatever it is that he started, and him couldn't carry through because it wasn't providing any personal gratification for him, because him was in a broader landscape of people who carrying the same fight that he was carrying, and he never liked that. You don't know this man, not only don't know him, you don't really know him, you spend time with him in political scenario, but you don't know him. Never like the fact that everybody carry the same thing, which means that feed message are going to get lost because him can't join your message. Him don't want to be a part of your message. He want feed message to stand out. So you can say it's him alone say it. And yes, it's Socrates that say this, and Socrates did say that. Him don't want it to be said that Socrates and Johnny say it, and Socrates and Jane did say that. No, him never want that. Him want it all for himself. And if you're not talking to him, him not talking to you. You're supposed to call him. You're supposed to say things to him. And if you post something, I have never seen this guy send out a birthday greetings to one of you. So you might get it privately. So you forgive me if you don't get it privately and get it and have different experience with him. Then you forgive me, I take it back. Now take it back. But him was no man of virtue. Him was just a ordinary grifter looking for a way out for himself. Nothing meant anything to him except him. And that's the naked truth about Junior Socrates. I don't know if his parents are alive. I was trying to find that out to express my condolences to his mother, if she's alive. It's a sad thing to have to bury your child. It's really your child should be burying you. The natural order of things, if it should go right, that is how it should go. I dread the thought of having to bury my own, and I pray to the good Lord I don't have to. So I would like, if his mother is alive, to say that, I understand her loss and I pray for her. And if he has children, I hope they are not young. I hope they are of age to understand and that. And it never, it also, some people are private, but it would also be sad that if he has children and you never saw a picture of him and his children anywhere. So I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned. Maybe I'm looking at this all wrong, because many people don't post up pictures with them and them family. But I mean, social media is a great place. It has its downs, but what up about social media is being able to post a happy picture. This is my child, this is my grandson, it's his birthday, send out a wish for him, the family, please. Love the boy, my handsome grandson or my beautiful daughter. And send out a birthday greeting for her. That's one of the great things about social media. It was meant to be an interactive space where people can connect from all over the world and where we can spread good stories. It has morphed into both that and something else, of course, but you don't see that. Too much hide and seek and too much darkness was in his existence. And so I'm saying my piece so that St. Peter can judge him properly when he reaches that layaway station. And he was not a nice person. And I'm about to sneeze and I'm trying to fight the sneeze. So I'll just say thank you all for listening to me rant again. God bless you all. Stay safe, everybody, and please do keep our children safe.